You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
Some of the most damaging relationships are the hardest ones to explain, and they don't have to look extreme in order to be deeply harmful. Welcome to the Covert Narcissism podcast, where we make sense of what never quite made sense. If you've been listening for a while, you may already understand what's happening in your relationship. You can see the patterns, you can name the behaviors, but maybe you still feel stuck in the same cycle. This is where coaching comes in. It's not about learning more, it's about having the support to finally apply what you already know and begin moving forward. You need a coach. If you're ready for that next step, I invite you to join me in my coaching program. You can learn more about it at covertnarcissism.com. Welcome back to the CNG Community Chat. We talked last week about that impossible in-between of do I stay or do I go? We talked about the fog, the isolation, the moment you finally start to open up to someone else about what's really going on at home. And we left off right as Denise finished reading us the letter that she wrote reclaiming her life after 27 years of marriage. A letter that honestly summed up covert narcissism better than I could have. Today, we pick up right there. This part of the conversation goes somewhere that I think you need to hear, whether you are still in the in-between or you've been out for years. We talk about what it actually takes to get to no contact, including a moment that Denise shares that is raw and important. We talk about grief, about triangulation when kids are involved, and about what it looks like to start finding pieces of yourself again after you have spent years not knowing what you even want for lunch. This isn't a tidy, wrapped up healing story. It's messy, and it's deeply honest. I think that's exactly why it matters so much. Now let's get back into it.
It's so funny because when we first split, we do have 2 adult kids together and the whole co-parenting thing. We were trying to stay civil for the sake of the kids. And then he was calling me like 6, 7, 8 hours a day telling me, oh, I know I'm a covert narcissist and I'm going to get better. And I'm listening to all these podcasts and I'm doing all this work. And now that you're out of the way, I can do this. And it actually drove me to the point of attempting suicide.
Wow.
And finally, when that happened, I realized that I needed no contact.
Okay.
And that was the best thing I could have done. Not the attempt. I'm not saying that. The going no contact. It took hitting the point of the attempt, getting to that low to realize that I had no foundation to build on if he was in the picture. And it would not have been possible to keep him in the picture. So we did go no contact, and that was the best thing I could have done.
Yeah. I'm really glad that you were able to turn that around. I hope that has put you on a significant path of healing. Is that true?
It's definitely been significant. It's not over by any means. I mean, we're 6 months out?
It's a lifetime, but it was a turning point for you.
It was a major turning point. I think prior to that, I think as I mentioned before, the puzzle pieces, he always held them. And it was at that point that I took them back.
Good.
And said, you don't get to hold these anymore. And,
Good.
You're not my support. And it's so funny because I just talked to him about some financial things that I had to discuss with him a couple of weeks ago. So like 5 months later, and it's so funny. He says, I'm not a covert narcissist. My therapist says I'm not. And I was never an abusive husband. And I don't know what you think I did wrong. It was a joint account. I didn't do anything wrong. And, and I said, it's so funny how conveniently that all that self-awareness just went right away.
Mhm. Well, and that will happen. That's on them and that shift.
Right.
Did you notice a difference in how you felt in this interaction as compared to before since you had gone no contact then for a while?
Yeah, it wasn't devastating anymore. It was
Good.
just like, "Thank you so much for the confirmation that you're still an asshole."
I'm really glad to hear that because one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is the value of going no contact. And and even if what the other person has done, let's say you've left the relationship or you're divorced or in the divorce process even, and they're reaching out to you and their words might be, "Oh, but I still love you, I still care." To the rest of the world, this can sound like, "Well, but they are being sweet." But it's not. It's a manipulation, it's a control, it's a still trying to get that's the love bombing, trying to get their hands on you, the hoovering. Even if the hoovering is they're showing up and giving you a birthday gift and the world can look at it and go, "Oh, but they're being so sweet." No, that's not what's going on.
It's the love bombing, and they use that love to manipulate.
Mhm.
It's
It's
that
access to you.
Well, and they'll claim self-awareness, and their self-awareness is manipulation. They're
Mhm.
just trying to get the access to twist and make you question everything about yourself and everything. So when he called, when I had talked to him 2 weeks ago and he did the denial, there was no self-doubt left.
Good.
It was just like, "Uh-huh, there it is. Thank you so much. Confirmation. Access revoked again. Thank you. Goodbye."
Good. Good. It can actually give you've reached a point where it's giving you the validation now instead of sending you spiraling again.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it still makes me angry, but that's because I'm still dealing with the financial aftermath.
Sure. Anger's okay. Anger is a motivating emotion, so there's no issues with getting, angry. The spiral I'm talking about is all the self-doubt. Did I see this wrong? Am I looking at this wrong? Maybe I'm making too much of it. It's that in between where we talk about the stay or go. Is this really covert narcissism or are these words at least lining up? Is this really what I'm seeing? And the very next day going, I don't think I have a clue what I'm talking about. And so this was validation for you directly from him.
Yeah, it was.
Okay. Yeah, that impact that they can have on us, especially during that time of do I stay, do I go? And I'm trying to make sense out of all of this. This is what a lot of people don't realize is even when they're being nice, the impact it has on you on the inside. That's the piece that's invisible that people don't see.
When I first left, there's a Janis Joplin quote or something off it. It's, "Freedom's nothing more freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose." And that's something that really helped me in that fog phase because that fear really didn't have power over me anymore because he had taken so much from me, like, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, everything like that, that leaving him, it was almost liberating in a sense because, he was no longer able to take anything away from me, and I think the fear of also the embarrassment once people found out, the embarrassment that I had let him treat me this way, that I put up with this, that I thought so little of myself that, I let him do this, and I think that was a big thing, just the fear in it all, and then grieving the grief too. I don't know what I was grieving necessarily, but I think I was grieving just I mean, it was 8 years, and I know it could have been better, could have been worse, obviously, but I was just still kind of hoping he'd come back, but not really, just kind of hoping that he'd come back because I wanted to feel like it had meant something to him, which it
Sure.
didn't, obviously.
Sure.
So,
It's grieving who you thought he was.
yeah,
You're grieving the person that you thought that this was and the marriage that you or the relationship that you thought you would have
exactly.
together. I was grieving the person I thought I was with him and the future that I thought we had. So grieving is just the recognizing the loss.
And then also our relationship was between the ages of about 27, 28 to 35, 36 for me. And, you know, I spent that time and I kind of the whole option of having kids went out the window for me because
Mm.
that's the age really. And not to say that it can't happen, but I'm 39 now, and I knew I wasn't going to trust anyone, let alone should I get in a relationship anytime close to after I got out of that.
Mhm.
So, he was older. He was 23 years older than me. He had 3 kids. He was been there, done that, which I wanted to look past, kind of, like, maybe he'd wanna have kids, maybe. So I was grieving the fact that I'd probably never have kids when I grew up wanting to have kids.
That's a significant loss.
Mhm.
And that is definitely something to grieve. I will say that it's never too late for adoption
Yeah.
or, to still maybe even in your future have children of your own. I
Mhm.
don't think that it is too late for that. If that is a direction that you choose to go, make
Yeah.
that part of your healing path. Mary, the question for you would be you're still in the relationship and you say you're in this do I stay, do I go? What's keeping you there?
I know, a good question. I feel, at times I'm not moving forward. I'm just kind of trying my best to, I don't want to use the word tolerate, but try my best to just raise my son. And there's so many times where I've wanted to just pull the plug, but I don't, I hesitate. So I have to honor where I am with that right now. And I can almost like see the other side, but there's something stopping me from doing that. And I guess that's the work I'm doing right now.
Okay. It is not a process that you can rush. It is not a process that you should rush. It's I've said it before with covert narcissism. It's not a pack my bags in the middle of the night and run. If it's physical abuse you're dealing with and your life is in danger or your children's lives are in danger, then you pack a go bag and you leave in the middle of the night. But with covert narcissism, that is often not the case. It's the emotional, verbal, psychological, and lots of good days that actually kind of are in between all of that. And so it's not a decision you can rush. And Mary, I feel that. I feel the heaviness of that with you. I would say put that decision in your future as to whether, if you're not ready today, so be it. It's not a decision you have to make today. The decision you do make today is that path of autonomy, being able to be you, being able to
Yeah.
hold your character, being able to live your life spontaneously and with your own decisions for your life and be the mom that you want to be, all of the things that make you who you are. And so that would be where I'd put the focus. If you're not ready to make that decision, that is okay.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel like my priority is myself right now and healing for myself, taking the best care of my son, sort of like a single parent in this marriage. Yeah, just not letting it swing me, like not letting his emotions and trauma trigger me into this up and down kind of roller coaster that I used to ride on with him.
Right.
And
Right.
now I kind of hopped off. Yeah.
Good. Good. It's like Denise's puzzle analogy. Take the pieces of your puzzle back and you kind of work on your own puzzle, but he's not allowed to have those pieces anymore.
I think if I can interject here with
Sure.
Mary, having children involved complicates it so much.
Mhm.
And I don't know about your situation, but at least in mine, he was the appearance of a loving father. And that made it so much harder because, I looked back and I'm like, God, what was I missing? And I just did a lot of digging and I found a post that talks about that when the father is the narcissist, but I'm assuming it would swap if it was the mom that was the narcissist. But like the parent that's the narcissist breaks the other parent and then, they drain them, destabilize them, chip away at their nervous system until they're barely holding themselves together. And then they get to step in as the fun and present parent.
Mhm.
And I used to joke that he was like the perpetual 15-year-old father, that he got to be their friend, but he was stepping in and playing hero. I always called it his hero mode long before I knew what narcissism was. That he had to be the hero. And he was only happy when he was the hero. So what I've learned is that he would break me. And then as I fell apart, it was oh, here, let me hold everything together. And he put that front on for the kids. But there were things going on behind the scenes that I did not know about that I found out with discussions with our youngest child after the divorce was over. And it was things that he was hiding from both sides. So when my child has autism, and there was times when they were growing up that it's not diagnosed, but we're pretty sure it's there. There were times when they were growing up that they would come home from school like very overwhelmed, and they couldn't verbally tell me what was wrong, but they would go in their room and slam the door and not come out for hours and like refuse to speak to us. And I always thought it was me. And I had a very hard time connecting with this child growing up. And I felt like a failure as a mom for that. And I would cry about it. And what I found out after he was moved out is that as I'm in my room crying about this, he's going into this child's room and telling them that they're horrible, that they're hurting their mother, and just tearing them apart, and telling them that I sent them to do it.
Oh, wow.
That I sent him to tell them that they're horrible and that they're hurting me and that they're a bad child. And so we found out now that that was going on all of their growing up years. And he was hiding it, telling them I sent them to do it. He was never telling me he did it. And, so there was a lot of damage done that was, again, very twisted. Always someone else's fault. Always someone else sent me to do it. But playing the hero, you're hurting your mom, but don't worry, I'm here, type of thing. And, but then it makes it easier for him to manipulate the kids and turn them against me, which has happened because he's the hero. And I'm the one that's falling apart.
That's a perfect example of triangulation. That is where triangulation comes in, is when they interject themselves in between a relationship. They're not telling the same thing to both sides. They're playing both sides. That's an example.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Of that triangulation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry for you and for your kids that you have gone through that.
Well, and then I was looking at, I have mentioned he was my caretaker. One of the other posts that I found was saying that it's so much easier for them to control when they become the person in charge of everything. They put themselves, oh, here, let me help. And so they make you feel like you are emotionally unstable. So they're going to help you be emotionally stable. They make you feel like you can't handle the finances. Let me handle the finances. I'll make all the major decisions so you don't have to. We shared a car. He always had to be the driver, so he was controlling the transportation. It was just like he put himself in the position to control everything, yet would tell me I was too controlling.
But that's the flipping the script. But some of them will do that and put themselves in the position of being in charge of everything. Others will do the opposite of that, and they will put you in charge of everything, and it's a weaponized helplessness, okay? But regardless, whichever side they go, it's control and manipulation.
So ours was both simultaneously, actually.
Interesting.
So it was like, I can't, so you have to, because you're too much for me. You put too much on me, so now I can't. So now you have to. So like he would guilt me into doing it because of the way he, manipulated it, but yet would make me feel like I couldn't do it without him.
It's all control and manipulation, all of it. And it's whatever works. One day, one direction works, and the next day, that one didn't work. So we're going to try a different angle, and all of it just to keep you completely off balance. Okay. So where are we now with finding yourself? When covert narcissistic abuse digs in, we lose our identity. We lose our ability to think straight, is really to that point. And so that staying or leaving becomes that impossible decision because we don't even know what we want. But it's not even only that. I had a hard time even figuring out what I wanted to eat for lunch because I didn't know what I wanted anymore, what I liked, what hobbies, what people, how do I spend my time? So are you finding ways now to reestablish your sense of self?
I have. So, kind of an interesting thing that happened when I did have the suicide attempt and I was in the hospital. We do a lot of classes and stuff while I was in there. And one of them was about finding your strengths. And they were going through the typical depression. People who are depressed have a hard time identifying their strengths. And they handed me this deck of cards with a bunch of strengths described on them. And they said, just try to identify 5. I know it's a struggle. Try to identify 5. And I was like, I'm having trouble identifying 5 I don't have. And
Oh,
I was
wow.
so confused by that. And they were so confused by that. And I'd been diagnosed for years with this severe depression. And this hospitalization changed it all because suddenly this isn't typical depression. This is severe PTSD. I was going through such severe PTSD from all of the trauma I was living through every day that nobody recognized it.
Okay.
And so I realized one of the strengths that I didn't think I had was fearlessness. And I thought, no, I'm not fearless. And the occupational therapist said, I beg to differ. Kicking your husband out after 27 years while you're dealing with heart failure, knowing that the finances were kind of screwed, was pretty fearless.
Right.
And I was like, oh, crap. So I made myself kind of sit back and look, and I looked at the things that I had done in life that had always had the best outcomes. When I applied for the job I wasn't qualified for and got it anyway and rocked it. When I, changed majors as a senior and ended up with an entirely different career path. When I did all of these kind of sort of things that were totally fearless and almost insane.
Mm-hmm.
And like other people are like, what are you doing? Are you nuts? They always had like the biggest changes in my life always came from the most fearless things I did. And
Wow.
so I decided that I just needed to go into life facing that fear.
Okay.
And it's helped me discover who I am and what I'm made of when he's not here.
That's a beautiful story, and I thank you for sharing it. I love that that is a part of your journey now.
So, an example, here I am with heart failure. Our house needed a lot of repairs, and I had built him an entire woodworking shop out of my guilt that I felt for being such a horrible wife and him being my caretaker, and he never used it. So it's here and it's mine now. So I enrolled in woodshop classes and I went and learned how to use it all. And then I couldn't afford the next woodshop class. So I went online trying to find free resources other than YouTube. And I found out that Habitat for Humanity has a women's build program. And you get to go work alongside contractors at a work site and apply everything you learn at your own home.
Wow.
So now I've been building houses with Habitat for Humanity.
Good for you. I love that. And I think that's a great resource then for us to share with this audience because there might be others that want to jump in on that.
Well, and honestly, it's empowering and it's fun.
Sure.
And it's just a great thing that you don't walk onto a site and they badger you for not knowing these things. They're so kind and they teach you and they're excited to teach you and excited to have the help. You feel so empowered and then you get to take what you learn and apply it in your own life.
That's awesome. Okay. Mary, where are you on this journey of finding yourself?
I am similar to what I said before. I'm just trying to not take on any of that trauma or any of that myself and just shaking it off and finding peace and calm within my own world. Yeah, it's exhausting,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel that, I pick and choose when I want to engage in certain conversations. Denise, I love that you said the mother and the maid, because I definitely feel that. And I feel like there's 2 children in the home and I'm the adult. So yeah, so I try to I like just brush it off like physically, like I'll just kind of brush off the energy off my body. I'll take care of myself, exercise, and just know that I'm not crazy. That this is
Okay.
not an easy road and I can do it one day at a time.
I would encourage you that part of that finding yourself absolutely is the boundaries with him. And so brushing off, not absorbing his energy or his moods, all of that, I 100% agree. But then in that hole that now creates inside of you, where you're not pouring all that energy into him, pour it into you.
Mhm.
Okay. Pursue something, even one thing, like the Habitat for Humanity for Denise was, even one thing that you can do once a week or twice a month, whatever fits for you. But that one
Yeah.
thing that is something that's a passion for you,
Yeah.
that's not about him.
And I think
100%. Yeah.
and I think, Mary, the brushing it off, I don't think that I realized how much the stress was impacting me until I saw the lab values for my heart failure after the divorce.
Yeah.
Wow.
It went down significantly.
Yeah. I mean,
I
the
believe it.
physical people say, well, at least it's not physical abuse. And I'm going to say, can you honestly tell me this is nothing physical about this? This is a very physical abuse. So,
Mm.
Nikki, how about you on finding yourself?
Well, first on the physical thing, not even close to your heart failure and everything like that. But I during the time after we moved in that past few years, I started to get the worst cystic acne, and I never had acne in my life, never got a pimple here and there, but I just started to get the worst cystic acne, and nothing was getting rid of it. I was just putting everything on it, and within 1 month of me leaving, it was gone, never seen it again.
Good.
And, in terms of finding myself, I've suffered from, or I have suffered from an eating disorder since I was probably about 12, like a long time. And he knew about it as we got along in our relationship and stuff like that. And I had gone to hospital for a little bit and everything for it. And he he would never say it, but he was kind of like you're saying, Denise, like holding the pieces of trying to, acting like he wanted me to recover and wanted to help me. But in reality, looking back, he liked it that I was sick. He liked
Mhm.
me that I wasn't able to do certain things for a while. And it was when I started to recover from it and everything like that, where he started to get more angry at things. He started to become more volatile. And it wasn't until I left that I was able to actually heal from that and find peace in other things. And something that really
Right.
helped was getting my dog, to be honest, and going out for hikes and physically taking care of myself, because that was a big part of my story, was physically taking care of myself.
Okay, so as we close here, I would ask, what would you say to someone else who's sitting right there in that fog of do I stay or do I leave, trapped in that decision? Do you have any words of encouragement for them?
I would say follow your heart, follow your instincts, and you're not doubting it. You haven't been doubting it because of something wrong with you. You wouldn't be doubting it. You wouldn't. Um, I would just say follow your instinct and go with your heart. And it's going to feel like a fog for a while, but when you get out of it, looking back, you're not going to hold any regrets.
There's a reason that your instincts and guts are feeling the way they feel.
Exactly.
So, yes, absolutely listen to them. All right, Denise.
I had a couple of friends say things to me that were just so like they hit hard. And there was one friend in particular that I was like just crying, and I was like, I just really loved him. And she said to me, I'm going to challenge you on that. She goes, you didn't love him. You love the character he played for you and everybody else, because that person you love doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fictional character, and the real person that's there is not who you love. And that hit really hard. And the other one that was kind of a big aha moment was that when I realized that I felt like it was so devastating to lose everything and lose him. And when I realized that the devastation I was feeling wasn't the loss of him or the marriage or any, it was the loss of myself. It was how completely I had lost myself in our marriage,
Mm-hmm.
that there was no self identity left. What I was feeling, that devastating loss, was me.
Wow.
And I couldn't get that back in the marriage, that I had to get out to get that back.
Yeah. That goes back to what somebody said a little bit ago, that freedom comes when you have nothing left to lose.
Yes. So while it feels devastating in the process, it's not, the devastation isn't always what you think it is.
Very good point, and thank you so much for sharing that. And ladies, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies, thank you again for sitting with us through both of these conversations. To those listening, what you heard today was not easy to hear, and I promise you it wasn't easy to share either. But that's exactly the kind of honesty that helps someone else feel less alone in their own fog. If you recognize yourself in these stories, in the doubt, the isolation, the slow process of finding your way back to who you are, I want you to hear this clearly. There is nothing wrong with you. Whatever stage you are in, whether you're still in the relationship or years out of it, healing is not a straight line, and it is not something that you have to figure out alone. I wish you so much peace on your journey of healing. If you've been listening for a while, you may already understand what's happening in your relationship. You can see the patterns, you can name the behaviors, but maybe you still feel stuck in the same cycle. This is where coaching comes in. It's not about learning more, it's about having the support to finally apply what you already know and begin to move forward. If you're ready for that next step, I invite you to join me in my coaching program. You can learn more about it at covertnarcissism.com. Your story matters, and you deserve to be heard without judgment. Check out my coaching services at my website, again, covertnarcissism.com. And don't forget to subscribe, to thumbs up, to follow, to like this podcast so that you can get more empowering episodes like this one, and to help us continue spreading the word so that our community can continue to grow. I wish you so much peace on your journey of healing. The information provided by Renee Swanson, Covert Narcissism Podcast, and CNG Life Coaching is for educational purposes only and is not to be used for diagnosis purposes and not intended to be a substitute for clinical care. Please consult a healthcare provider for guidance specific to your case. This material discusses narcissism in general. Renee shares stories from her personal experience as well as from those she has talked with for several years. Her material does not claim that any specific person has narcissism and should not be used to refer to any specific person as having narcissism. Permission is not granted to link to or repost this material to support any allegation or support a claim that any specific person is a narcissist. That would be an unauthorized misuse of this material and information provided.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.